Because of the following special program, Wonder Woman and the Incredible Hulk will not be presented this evening.
It's time to get all your Star Wars news in a single file. This is Making Tracks. Here are your hosts, Mark Newbold and Dave Tree.
That's not true. That's impossible.
You're listening to Making Tracks. I'm your host, Mark Newbold, and joining me on today's episode is Amy Ratcliffe. You'll know Amy from The Nerdist and from StarWars.com, Star Wars Insider, and other publications. Amy was able to go to Galaxy's Edge and see all sorts of stuff that's coming in terms of purchasable goods and food and everything else. So she joined us to talk about that for about half an hour. So here's me and Amy talking about Galaxy's Edge. So what can you tell us about Galaxy's Edge? First off, what was your first impression when you actually went in the park and started to see things?
I was a little nervous because I didn't know how much I would cry in front of my peers. I have no problems with being emotional. I'm a very emotional person, but didn't want to full-on sob in front of a group of, colleagues. So I kind of had that in my mind. But then when we walked in and just when you get a sense of the scale and how much it just truly feels like they've captured the vibe of Star Wars, even though none of us know what Batuu look like, except from the concept art and things they've shown. And then when we round a corner and they build these kind of things into the lands, these reveals, so that when it's a very Disney Parks thing that they kind of guide your footsteps and your viewpoint so that you can walk around these corners and be just like, whoa. And they have a couple of those for the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
And even, with a hefty amount of construction still happening, to turn the corner and see that ship as big as it is in the film, it's very emotional.
So how I mean, you say the scale of it, we all know it's, 14.1 acres or something crazy like that. But do you immediately get the sense of, whoa, this is huge? Or do they sort of ease you into it?
They ease you into it, very much so, because the land is designed kind of to have different areas. So one thing that was great, too, about all of this is they're like, basically everything we saw and heard we can talk about. We just had to keep it secret for about a week, which was really hard.
Yeah.
I don't want to tell everybody. But they've done this great job of making the village kind of feel like, because you don't know how big Los Angeles is unless you're looking at it from a plane above.
True.
When you're on the ground, you can't tell. So they you have this area where the Falcon is that's near the First Order outpost that they put together. And these kind of like village streets, especially like you wander through this little marketplace area that's a single corridor, and that's like where the creature stall will be and the toy maker. And you pop out of that and it's like the resistance is like a little outside the village. So you go into this more wooded area because they're trying to be hidden away, and they've taken up in like this ancient cavern, which
right.
is a thing they apparently always do. The rebellion or the resistance. And so as you start to, you don't get a scope when you walk, like the feel when you walk in of how big it is. But as you start to walk around, you're like, yeah, it's pretty impressive. It's not like, for example, if anyone has been to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter in Universal Florida, and especially not in Hollywood, those lands are pretty compact and still wonderful. Diagon Alley is a bit bigger. But Hogsmeade's small, and but Valley's, what am I talking about? Black Spire Outpost is, it's no, I think fans park guests will be impressed at how big it is.
I can hear the excitement in your voice. That is so obvious.
Yeah.
When you're in there, I mean, you say there's the First Order area. How is it broken down into separate sections? Because as I say, there's the village itself, the outpost itself, there's the First Order area. What sort of breakdown is it in terms of sections of Black Spire and Batuu?
So the nice thing is that they all kind of bleed together naturally, but you can tell. So we were at Disneyland, and the Florida one and Hollywood Studios is pretty much identical, except it has 2 entrances versus Disneyland in California has 3 entrances. So in Disneyland, the entrance that comes off of Fantasyland is more towards the First Order, and you know you're there because there's a new First Order ship on display. It's a TIE Echelon. And I think that's my weakest point of Star Wars knowledge is always ships and vehicles. So I was like, TIE Echelon, I got it. And you can see over in that area, there'll be a First Order cargo. So it's like a little stand where if you want to show your support of the First Order, you can get patches and just basically gear. I think they even have something that looks like a full-on First Order officer shirt and hat. And I don't know if you'll see stormtroopers walking around in that area. They didn't really talk too much about that kind of stuff. And everything there is more like just structured, like down to when you buy something from First Order cargo, that packaging is going to be, very proper and very tidy. Whereas if you buy something on the opposite side from Resistance Supply, it's going to be more like, we just made something into this bag and here you go.
Yeah, yeah.
And I like that they kind of got it down to that detail. So you have the First Order, you leave that and go towards the Millennium Falcon, and that's kind of when the village starts.
Yeah.
And that's where the lightsaber workshop is, the Den of Antiquities run by the Ithorian Dokandar, the droid depot, and then those little creature stalls. And then you kind of feels like you walk like that, you leave Black Spire Outpost behind a little and go into that wooded resistance area.
So where they've laid it out, and obviously they're still working on it, so it's not, I'm assuming it's not completed or completely filled out yet, but
definitely not.
there's you mentioned the lightsaber area, the trading areas, the places you can, as a person passing through the village, you can purchase things. Can you kind of see where everything's going to go and visualize when it's busy? And goodness knows it's going to be really busy. But, can you kind of tell where things are going to be?
Yeah, absolutely. The structures were, I think pretty much all the outside structures were in place. And we got to walk in several of the things, like the droid depot, the cantina, the docking bay. I don't remember if we went in the lightsaber place, but like in the cantina, for example, that's going to be, Oga's Cantina it's going to be a popular place. At Disneyland, that's the first public place guests can buy alcohol, so that's kind of a big deal. And, it's reminiscent of the Mos Eisley Cantina with alcoves, and there were 7 alcoves and like a wraparound bar. And, somebody in our group asked about maximum occupancy, and they haven't, they either haven't got those details. Some of the things are like, we don't have that figured out, or we're not prepared to share that at this time.
Yeah.
That was pretty much all the answers to any questions about crowd flow.
Yeah.
Because that's a big concern for people. And like the cantina, I'm like, I could see that. I don't know if they're going to limit how many people can go in at a time to have a better experience, but I could see that getting cozy.
I was going to say, because the one concern, even though it's a monstrously big, I think it's the biggest park extension or expansion ever, isn't it? But the worry is, because there's so many of us being Star Wars fans, it's going to get crowded and busy and packed, and you've got people there in the, I mean, they just released the crew outfits or the cast outfits, so you've got people there in character as much as they reasonably can be. There's a lot of moving parts to sort of facilitate at one time, isn't there?
There are, and I will say something that's very cool that they're doing. You're right, it is. I think they've explained this is the largest, like, singly focused land expansion they've ever done, and they want it to be 100% in universe. So, like, with the cast members, they did a cool thing with if they're working in the village, it's like their story is that they live on Batuu and they're commuting into work every day. They have a variety of like mix and match pieces they can pick from their outfits. And they're kind of given, they can kind of make up a story for themselves as a resident of Batuu, where they can kind of like, okay, I know they're trained on, like, I know that what I'm working for, I know if I'm working for Oga, like, I know about her, and I have an opinion about her black market activities, or I have an opinion about the First Order or Resistance being here. And Imagineering said they had to kind of put guardrails on it, so no cast member who's a fan would be like, okay, I'm Han Solo's second cousin. They kind of had to limit them in some ways, but they're really encouraging them to. It almost sounds like role playing in a way.
So help create their own character, sort of come up with their own thing.
Exactly. So I think that's really cool. But yeah, it's a lot of moving pieces, and it's a lot of like, the building a lightsaber experience it's an experience and a retail thing, a little bit like Ollivanders in the Harry Potter world, if anyone's been. I can make those comparisons because that's kind of the closest thing we have to comparing it to, even though I think it, even at this stage, far outpaces what they did at Wizarding World of Harry Potter. But the lightsaber thing is 14 guests at a time. So that's not that many. I don't think they said how long the experience is, so I couldn't calculate like how many people can you get through that in a day. But they are aware of popularity, and we're very like, our operations team is on top of it. But I think that's a lot of things. That's something I'm certainly nervous about, especially at Disneyland, because Disneyland is a relatively small park, and we as if I own Disneyland. As somebody who goes a lot, there are already some tricky issues with crowd flow, and they're building a whole new parking structure because that fills up often. The one they have fills up often on the weekends already. So I think that's a concern we all have.
Hi, this is Gareth Edwards, director of the best standalone Star Wars film since Caravan of Courage, called Rogue One. You're listening to Panther Tracks. Enjoy.
So do you get the sense, I mean, obviously, if anybody pays to go to Galaxy's Edge, presumably they're not going to want to see it in a day. They certainly, because of the crowds that are inevitably going to swell through there, they're not going to be able to do everything in a day. So does it feel like the sort of place, if you were there for a fortnight on holiday to Florida or Anaheim, that you would repeat visit? You'd need to go 2, 3 times, 4 times to really get the sense of everything that's in that area?
I think if you're a Star Wars fan, you're going to want to go repeatedly. I can already see myself as an annual pass holder just wanting, if nothing else, to go and hang out there. And I will say, I think the queues for the 2 rides, Millennium Falcon, Smuggler's Run, and Rise of the Resistance, I think those queues will absorb a lot of people. They're very long. But if you want to do those rides and you weren't able to snag, a fast pass to get through it, I think you could easily spend a couple days just like doing the rides, and then also focusing on, I want to go in every shop. I want to look for Easter eggs. I want to use the Play Disney Parks app that's going to switch to a Star Wars data pad. I want to use that to complete some missions. I think you could easily, I don't know if you need 2 or 3 days, but you certainly, I think, could spend 2 to 3 days if you're super into it, just nerding out over every detail. Well,
you mentioned Easter eggs. I mean, that's something that's been hinted at. I mean, as walking around with a practiced eye, you know what you're looking for. Did you spot plenty of, without giving anything away, don't spoil it, but did you spot plenty of Easter egg type things walking around?
Yeah, there's some things, I would I definitely see where there's a lot of room for Easter eggs. Like the Den of Antiquities is going to be a big one, because that's an Ithorian who's collected stuff from around the galaxy, and a lot of that wasn't installed yet. They'll have a 12-foot Wampa, which is pretty cool. But those cases, they said, will regularly swap out and include things from not just the films, but like the animated series and publishing. And like in the Rise of the Resistance queue, there's a weapons room, and there's a gear room with a bunch of flight suits. So those are places they could easily tuck in Easter eggs. And I think they're going to do at Disneyland and Walt Disney World on Main Street USA, or at Magic Kingdom rather, at Main Street USA and other places in the parks, they'll have, names of businesses owned by certain proprietors. And those names are often people who worked on Disneyland, or worked in the parks in some way, in Imagineering or in another way. And I think that's going to be the case. Carrie Beck hinted that would be the case in Galaxy's Edge with some people who have worked on that, which I think is just fun. So I think there's going to be a lot to keep people looking, especially I love looking for that kind of stuff. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm just thinking Dryden Voss's office in Solo, that desk, Zim the Despot's skull and all the little bits of the Ewok in the case and everything, all the things that were in there. I can imagine Galaxy's Edge would be a similar thing to that.
I think Din of Antiquities is going to be very much like that Din, actually, just that one shop. So, yeah. And then they're doing cool things with the app where there's a translate function where you can, if you don't know Aurebesh on site, you can translate, and there'll be like Easter eggs hidden in that stuff, I'm sure, too, like on signage. And there's just so much. Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot to keep us busy.
So, one of the things you did some wonderful articles on Nerdist, which we're still working our way through because there's so much cool information in there. One of the things that really jumped out at me was, being a lover of food, as I am, is there's loads of eateries, loads of places to get a drink. Can you talk us through some of those? Because they look amazing. They look absolutely amazing.
Yeah, that's, I always joke that food is my favorite ride at Disneyland. So I was really excited to kind of learn more about what they were doing in Galaxy's Edge. We got to try, they had about 15 to 20 journalists there, I think. So we got to try a lot of food and beverages. And they've set up a few, this land is going to be busy. So there's one main kind of quick service place where you can go to a counter, pick up your food and take it to a table called Docking Bay 7 Food and Cargo. And I like that it's run by the chef that was at Maz Kanata's castle, Strono Tugs, also known as Cookie. And I thought that was a fun connection to bring him in. And that's where you'll find the most amount of food and the widest variety. And the way one of their kind of chef innovators described it is they tried to do maybe like familiar style foods like fried chicken, but put a Star Wars spin on it and make everything has pretty bold flavors. There's a lot of spice or smokiness or sour, but everything kind of is like a in your face, in your palate kind of taste, which I liked. And so their fried chicken there is fried in Dorian tip yip. And it was fun to hear about like the creature names they use, because I they have Kadu ribs, and I had to remember, I'm like, wait, what is a Kadu? Yeah. And I think they've done a fun job of putting I didn't want to see like a Leia cinnamon roll.
Yes.
For example. Yeah. And they did not do that, which I'm grateful for.
It all feels very in universe as much as they could do. Yeah,
exactly. And then of course there's a milk stand, so you can get frozen blue milk or green milk, which I thought was fun. And also cold drinks are going to be necessary because it gets pretty warm in both Florida and California in the summers. And that was kind of something like one of the Imagineers was like, I don't know about you, but I don't really want to drink a glass of milk when it's 95 degrees outside. So they decided to, it's a non-dairy blue milk.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite places is a place called Ronto Roaster. And that's kind of it's a stall, but it's pretty big because the idea is the proprietor is a big pod racing fan. So he's taken an old pod racing engine, and that's what he's using to smoke meat, basically.
Yeah.
So that place will be full of a bunch of pod racing stuff, like flags and just memorabilia, which I think is awesome. And then you can walk up and get this thing called it's a Ronto wrap. And they have a few drinks there too. Like, a lot of the drinks are like Melu Run Juice or Sour Sarlacc, Moof Milk. Like, it's a lot of fruit forward, refreshing style drinks. But the Ronto wrap is one of my favorite things we tried. It's, Ronto in our world, I think it was like a Portuguese sausage and something else. And just this really good slaw and kind of a spicy sauce that hits you in the back of your throat.
Yeah.
You're making
me hungry, Amy. You're making me hungry.
Too. Same. I was like, oh, I need to eat more breakfast. But yeah, I was impressed what they did with the food. And then the drinks, the cocktails are so fun. We tried the Fuzzy Tauntaun. They'll only be served in Oga's Cantina, and the cantina mostly has cocktails, a lot of non-alcoholic beverages too, and just some really light snacks. But Fuzzy Tauntaun was fun, and they just had a good time. You could tell, like, coming up with the names for the drinks. So I'm looking forward to spending a lot of time there in the cantina.
Yeah, I was say about the Ronto roasters, because obviously the pod race engines. You mentioned the Cadoo. It's Phantom Menace 20th anniversary. It feels it's got a Mos Espa vibe as well, hasn't it? It's got the street vibe, that kind of feel.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say one kind of like fun thing semi-related to that is when they were talking to us about the merchandise available, they got to visit some of the people working like on coming up with the merchandise and the marketplace, kind of that feel, visited Rogue One while it was filming, and specifically visited the sets of the marketplace that was in Jeddah. And like, what does this feel like? What does this look like? And talked to like the kid actors that were in those scenes to see what like really caught their eye. And that's of course on top of they actually took research trips to places like Morocco and Marrakesh to see what those marketplaces were like. But yeah, it does have it's like a Mos Espa vibe for sure.
Hello, Bantha Trex. Bantha Trex, I screwed it up. Hi, Bantha Trex.
You mentioned the app. That was mentioned in all of the literature that they're doing. There's an existing app, but they're going to sort of skin it so it's a Star Wars relative app for that part of the park. How does that work? What will that do?
Yeah, so it's the Play Disney Parks app, which they just launched in summer 2018. And this is the first, Galaxy's Edge is going to be the first land they've, designed from the ground up to work with that app. And it'll become basically a data pad, and it's telling of how much I've been in the weeds on this that I can tell you the 4 things it does without having to look at my notes anymore. I don't think that's a good thing. There's probably more important things I need to have in my brain. But you can hack with it, so you can basically you can use the app to interact with things in the land, be it droids that are in the land, like outside the droid shop. There are a couple places where there'll be droids. You can use it to hack. There's like a land-wide game for door control panels. The First Order is trying to install surveillance cameras, and the Resistance is trying to destroy them.
Yeah.
So depending on which side you're sympathetic with, you can use the hack function of this app to hack the door panel and either help the First Order or help the Resistance. And then it's kind of like a Harry Potter house points situation, like across the land. And I don't know how, when they determine a winner at the point of the day, but whoever has control of the most door control panels, gets exclusive digital rewards in the app that could be like a costume piece to dress up your avatar or something.
Clever.
So that's fun.
So it's like being the Rebel Spy on Star Tours.
Yes, except you actually get, not that you actually get something for it, because it's fun to be the Rebel Spy on Star Wars. But yeah, it's like the next level of that, which I think is cool. And then you can translate. So you can use the app to either take pictures of Aurebesh on a wall or an alien language, or you can record an alien language. So if you hear Doc Ondar, he's, an animatronic in his shop, and he speaks whatever the Ithorian language is called. Maybe Ithorian, I don't know. Yeah. But you can record him, and it'll do an audio to text translate. And there'll be, it's very much, there's not going to be a big music theme while you're walking around. It's about ambient sounds. So maybe you'll hear snippets of conversations between villagers. So you can really use that app to translate, which I think is fun. You can use it to, what was the other, tune? So you can... Basically, there'll be like communications towers you can interact with in the app, and you can listen and overhear transmissions. And sometimes it might be like important things between the Resistance or First Order communications that you have to unscramble to hear. Or sometimes maybe you'll just be hearing villagers talk to each other.
So listening into the police radio band sort of thing, it's sort of ear-rigging in on other conversations.
Basically, which is always fun.
Yeah, it is.
We had one of those growing up. I don't know why. The police scanner, but it was always, we were from a small town. We didn't have a lot to do. So that was probably why. And, I spoke too soon because there is one more function. Oh, you can scan. So there'll be a lot of shipping cargo, there'll be labels around the land. And you can scan shipping labels or signs and get more information. So, and there's a jobs board as well that's tied to that. So you can take jobs while you're in the queues for the rides. There are two jobs in each queue that you can do. And then there are some you can just participate in throughout the land as a one-off. And if you're somebody who does repeat visits, like if you're an annual pass holder, they didn't say what kind of missions it is, but you can enroll in long-term missions that you can just like keep playing every time you go back.
So, but if you just wanted to go to the park and walk through it, observe it and soak it all up, go on the Falcon ride and you do as well as you do or not, that's fine. Your experience is tailored to you.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
That's something they very much like. You can interact with this as little as you want. And if you want to go all in and talk to Hondo in your app and learn how to be a smuggler, like you can.
So walking away from it at the end of your experience walking through Galaxy's Edge, apart from just being blown away that you were there, which clearly you were, what was what did you take away from it more than anything? What feeling, what one experience, what was the thing that you really took away from it?
Can I do two things?
Of course you can.
Great. One, like just the feeling was a sense of relief and joy, because Star Wars, like they have to get it right. There are a lot of fans that have high expectations, and I was certainly one of them, but I feel relief in that they know that they are putting so much, like clearly everyone, we attended a lot of panels with people who worked on the land and through the technology, through the merch, a bunch of different ways. And the enthusiasm you're hearing from me right now, like they all had that as well. So they're clearly excited about what they're doing and careful and want to make this great for both longtime fans and fans who maybe don't know Star Wars super well, who are just coming to the franchise. So that was a big okay, this is going to be great. It's already great. It's all going to be fine. And then the other was just, I say one thing I'm so impressed with, and the thing I cannot wait most to do, is the Rise of the Resistance attraction. We walk through the queue and walk through the first part of it, but I think it's just going to be bigger in scope than anything else Disney parks have done. It's going to be like having 4 ride systems in one attraction, which is very ambitious.
Yeah.
But the scale of it, like you walk out of a shuttle. I was just rewatching Force Awakens last night, and the look on Poe's face when he gets escorted after he's been captured by the First Order and gets escorted off, and is like, whoa, look at this hangar.
Yeah.
That's how you feel when you walk off the shuttle and find yourself. You're like, this is gigantic. There are 50 stormtroopers. Like, this is bad.
Wow.
So I think that ride's going to be something very special.
Awesome. We can't wait. Everybody's so excited about it. We're all looking forward to getting there. I'm looking forward to going through all the merch and seeing what sort of crazy stuff there is, and Easter egg hunting, and definitely trying the food and drinks. When it all gets rocking, I think everybody will be just buzzing about it. Thanks so much for giving us your time today, Amy.
Yeah, thanks for listening to me ramble excitedly about Galaxy's Edge.
You can ramble as much or any time as you like. And we'll see you in about, 39 days at Celebration in Chicago?
Yes, so soon, and I cannot wait.
Look forward to it. See you soon.
See you, Mark.
A couple of weekends ago, we were at Capital Sci-Fi. Myself and Martin Keeler went up to record content for the podcasts, for the website, social media, and for Fantha Tracks TV. One of the things that we did, in amongst many other things, was catch up with Mike Quinn. So this is me and Martin catching up with Mike. So we're here at Capital Sci-Fi. It is Friday afternoon. I'm standing here with Mike Quinn.
Hello, yeah, it's awesome.
We did a panel earlier.
We did do a panel, didn't we? Not the kind that's on a wall, but the kind that has people in seats.
How's you? How's things?
Very good, thank you. Very good, very busy, and I'm enjoying things at the moment. There's a lot going on, and I'm glad that I can be here in Edinburgh for this weekend.
Have you done the show before?
No, it's first time. I managed to get to Edinburgh about once a year, it seems, at the moment, which is lovely. So, I love it here. Yeah.
Brilliant. Right,
these guys are good at this show.
It is. This is my first time. I'd never been to Edinburgh before.
Oh, okay.
So
great.
St. Martin, it was nice to do a bit of a drive through the city and see a bit of it.
Absolutely.
So, and it is nice and busy. I know tomorrow, Saturday and Sunday will be a lot busier.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's today's Friday, so it's nice just to hang out and say hi to everyone and get installed.
Now, your latest news.
Oh, yeah.
You had a successful Kickstarter campaign.
Oh, yeah, just very recently. Yeah, it was like a short 2 weeks for a sort of an autobiography stroke memoirs. People kept asking me, and I'd blocked something out years ago, sort of outline stuff.
Yeah.
And it was just sort of sitting there. And just because people kept asking, I thought, well, what if I don't put this stuff down and then suddenly it's too late or whatever? So, and I always love reading autobiographies, probably more than anything else. So, seeing what makes people tick and all their little human sort of stories. So I thought, well, what if I don't become, Kickstarter makes me accountable now because I've gone ahead and done this. So that will make sure that I will finish this book.
Yeah.
So it's actually really exciting. I'm really pleased.
When you started throwing the ideas down on paper,
yeah.
Because you do conventions, we've just talked, and I've
yeah.
heard you talk about other things, but it's not in any kind of sequence, I guess, to a large degree. But when you're getting it down on the written page, you see the chronology of what you've done, and
basically,
interesting to you.
Yeah, basically, sort of, the initial process for me is doing sort of a brain dump where I sort of work through somewhat chronologically and just throw all the stuff down, and then. A few weeks later, I'll suddenly remember half the things that I forgot, and I'll go back and so it's a series of multiple passes and edits and additions and trying to remember all the good stuff because you don't remember everything at once. That's the weird thing. And then what order did things happen in? That's another tricky one. Just and there's a lot of things that people don't know, and I think it might be fun for them to know that stuff.
And you feel like you're kind of purging in a good way, getting all these thoughts on the page.
Exactly, yeah. So I can actually remember all the things that did actually happen and enjoy that.
Yeah.
I thought, well, why not? I was going to wait until later, and I thought, well, I haven't done my big thing yet. I should do it after I've done my one big thing.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, that's. What is that big thing? When's that ever going to happen?
Yeah.
And, it's never going to, what I mean?
It's the whole tomorrow never comes thing.
Yeah, I thought, I just need to do this. So,
So what memory that you kind of, because I'm here we go, I'm working on a book with a lady that owned a stately home in Staffordshire.
Oh, okay.
And it's been fascinating. She's nearly 90.
Oh, brilliant.
And she got 90% of it in her head.
Great.
And the more she talks, the more comes out. And
yes,
she's like,
that's right. I forgot about,
Did you have a similar thing?
Oh, absolutely, completely. Yeah, it's amazing. It's like, I forgot about I hadn't thought about that in 30 years.
Yeah.
And it's great, actually. It's nice finding those little treasures of that's buried in the brain cell there. I only have one brain cell, but it works very hard.
Yeah.
So I'm holding on to it very tightly right now. Definitely. It's actually quite good because it's all in there. It's just accessing it, and then things trigger. One thing triggers another thing. Yeah. And then you think, I must put that in the book,
Did it give you, because when you're doing that research, okay, like you say, a lot of it you've got in there anyway, it's just getting out. Did it give you the opportunity to catch up with folks and bash out memories and thoughts and ideas?
Yeah, definitely, and of course, checking a lot of stuff with my sister who's 2 years older than me, so she remembers a lot of details from the early days that I might be sketchy on as well, and also the chronology of things too. So, definitely. It's great. It's a great project. Yeah, it's brilliant. And I've still got a lot to do, a long way to go, and I've sort of been doing it in parts. But also, my next thing is to just block a period of time to get the rest down, and then take a little break from it, do other things, and come back fresh, and then take it through some people to edit and look at it and all that, proofread and all that kind of stuff.
For people who are listening, what's the title of the book?
Oh, the title is Talk to the Hand. And that can be taken in many ways, I suppose. At least for now. And I guess I'll keep it until someone tells me I shouldn't.
It makes sense as any of the time.
I suppose it does for what I do anyway, as a puppeteer. So, people talk to my hand all the time.
This is true. So what else is new? What have you been up to that you can talk about?
That I can talk about. Let's see. Well, in the summer, we did the Cost of the Live Muppets at the O2.
Yeah, we were there.
Which was amazing. And then I worked on the new ride, the new Star Wars ride for Disney. We filmed that over here. Yeah. And then since, what else did I do? The new Jim Carrey series, Kidding, in Los Angeles. And we got renewed for a second season, so hopefully he'll still have puppets in season 2, in which case I'll be there. Jim was great. He was very collaborative. Jim Carrey really impressed me, actually.
Yeah. Was he not what you expected?
I don't know what to expect, but he really connected with us and was very down to earth and very human and very appreciative. And I had a few little chats with him about Jim Henson and like the stage where his puppet set was built was actually the same stage where they filmed the Scarecrow in The Wizard of Oz with his song and stuff.
Oh wow.
And I told Jim that, he didn't know that. And he just flipped. He's like, I can't believe that. That's my favourite song in the movie. And he loved the idea of his character, Mr. Pickles, having a set in the same stage that the Scarecrow did his Wizard of Oz stuff in. So I asked Jim if he'd ever met Jim Henson, and he said, he seemed kind of sad and said, no, I didn't. I really wish that I had, And I said, Jim would have loved you, because I really think he would have done. It's a pity, really, that they never collaborated on anything. So, Jim was awesome. I hope I do get to work with him again this year, later on. So there was that, and then I was filming on some secret film this year. Something, I don't know what it is. Doctor Who or something. I don't know what it is. It might be something like that. So I've not stopped. It's been just insane.
You like it busy though? Keep it going.
I love it busy. Right now, I would like a week off. That would be a day off. Would be nice. I'd love a day off. So I've been going back and forth across the Atlantic and I'm not even that good of a swimmer.
That's what I'm saying.
I think if I run fast enough, I won't sink.
Did the UK in a day the other day, if I recall rightly.
Something like that. And I did California in 3 days, and then came back on Tuesday. So and then drove up here. Filming Wednesday. No, I arrived Tuesday, filmed Wednesday, drove up here yesterday, doing the show today, and it's just like, so I need to stop. I need to, rest and
well, we'll leave you for now.
No, don't leave. We're only just getting warmed up.
Let you chill.
No. Well, I guess we can do part 2 another time then.
Part 2,
or 1.5.
We'll see you on Sunday.
There's a karaoke party tonight, isn't there? So we're expecting you to get up.
Well, I thought about it, but I'm so tired. I might have to actually sleep. As much as I'd love to get up, and we'll see. If I get my second wind, then maybe I can do a number. We'll see. It'd be nice, actually.
It would.
It would be fun.
I'm
sure.
It live. We're live streaming. Live fans can see it. And
I think that wouldn't be a bad. Then it's there forever. It's a good thing.
Enjoy it over and over again.
I did have an idea, speaking of songs and Star Wars people and things, of doing, how they did the Force for Change stuff every year. I thought, wouldn't it be great if they did a Force for Change album of Star Wars actors singing cover songs, and that could, because there's loads of the actors that sing and
that's true, there is,
musical or could at least get by. I thought that would be a great.
What would your song be?
Comfortably Numb.
Good song.
Right.
Good song. Yeah.
Yes.
So I think it could work. I think people would buy that.
I know it.
So we have to get that out there, and maybe Lucasfilm can hear this and think about it.
Lucasfilm, we'll make sure they hear this.
Yeah, excellent. Hello, Lucasfilm, Mr. and Mrs. Lucasfilm. How's all the little Lucasfilms? Hope they're doing well. So there we have it.
Excellent.
Brilliant.
Well, thank you as always.
Thank you so much,
and
everybody.
We'll see you later over the weekend.
You know it. Bye.
That's it for this episode of Making Tracks. Next episode will see me and Dave reunited, long overdue, to go through all the latest Star Wars news. You can find us on social media. We're everywhere at Fantha Tracks, so Instagram, Facebook, YouTube and Twitter. See you next time.